It is 10:30, so we are going to go ahead and get started. Um, we are going to be putting up the recording of this webinar. So hopefully if anybody rolls in or is a little bit late, that's quite all right. They'll be able to see this. I want to welcome everyone to today's webinar on aligning sales compensation with organizational goals. My name is Kayla Williams, and I'm pleased to introduce this session, which is going to be led by Cliff Sandsmart. Before we begin, I would like to share just a little bit about who we are here at JER HR Group. We are a leading HR services firm dedicated to helping clients tackle some of their toughest challenges. We offer consulting services, compensation, employee learning, organizational development, HR support, and HCM technology. They're all tailored to align with your work culture and business strategy. Trainery, our a brand under JER HR Group's umbrella, provides solutions that empower HR departments to optimize skills, productivity, and employee experience. For over 35 years, our network of e-learning and workforce training solutions has been helping companies excel in their everyday business. So I want to thank you for joining us today. And now, without further ado, I would like to hand it over to Cliff Sandsmark to lead today's discussion.
Thank you, Kayla. Well, good morning. Welcome to today's program, Aligning Sales Compensation with Organizational Goals. And I appreciate you all attending and taking some time out from your busy day to learn a little bit about sales compensation. My name is Cliff Sandsmark, and I'll be your host. A little bit about me. I am the sales practice leader with the JER HR Group, with many years of compensation experience with Fortune 500 companies. I am a certified World at Work compensation professional and a certified sales compensation professional, as well as holding senior certifications from HRCI and SHRM. I'm also an adjunct professor at the University of Arkansas, Fayetteville. Now, just to give you something else, you may want to go ahead and dig this out. There's an excellent magazine out there called HR's Professionals Magazine. It's free. You can go on their website. But just recently, in the past couple of months, published a brand new article, The 7 Characteristics of Highly Effective Sales Plans. And it's a good little summary for you to remember kind of what we covered in this session. But it's also, you can go ahead and give it to your, people that are responsible for sales compensation in your organization. So one thing about sales comp, well, let's just look through the agenda first. I don't want to get ahead of myself. I tend to do that. We're going to go over sales compensation in general and how it relates to organizational goals, factors in defining sales comp plans, what is total target cash compensation, types of sales compensation, performance measures, factors in design, building a compensation design team, competitive compensation, some of the things to remember. Good design drives the desired behaviors. You're going to learn about how to evaluate your current plan and proposed plan. Also cover briefly some legal considerations, federal and state laws, communication, transparency, quotas, goals, creating your plan, and how to contact us. But one thing you'll find that in the realm of compensation, there's usually general compensation, but there are two very specialist areas. One of them is executive comp and one is sales comp. What's unique about sales comp is that if you have a sales force in your organization, they're different. I mean, their job is different, you treat them different, and of course, you pay them different. So if you want to get the maximum out of your sales force, you need to be sure that you're incentivizing the right behaviors and realize that, unfortunately, HR does not own sales comp. Usually, you'll find sales comp in the finance department or the sales or split between the two. That you might get invited to come to a meeting out of courtesy, but those are the two groups that usually dominate sales comp because of the nature of the beast. Now, as an HR professional, you can learn to wield influence on this decision making, but to do that, you have to basically learn the tenets of sales compensation, offer advice, and offer some other resources they may not have, but you do through your association with the, let's say, World at Work or the JERHR group. Again, purpose of sales compensation is to reward salespeople for winning and keeping your customers. We need to align a pay opportunity with your business objectives. You need to learn how to attract and retain sales talent and also control the cost of sales. Salespeople tend to be less risk adverse and more at risk with their variable pay that rewards you for their success. A good salesperson will look at his sales plan and figure out just how much money he can make on it, and then go out and do the job. They're not really interested in high base pay. They just want to look at the variable portion, how much they can use that to further their own personal gain, and if it's designed right, their gain is also your gain as well. So they know what they expect. They know what they're expecting of them. They constantly receive feedback on their performance. The performance appraisals aren't used that much in sales compensation. So we need to design a compensation system that will, again, reward salespeople for winning and keeping customers, align pay opportunity with business objectives, attract and retain sales talent, and also control the cost of your sales. Get this to, there we go. Oops. So how the organization gets their offering to the final customer is what they call the go-to-market plan. The salespeople want constant feedback on their performance, but a good sales plan will do that for them. It's measurable. Teams can also be incentivized, in other words, groups of individuals. Hold on one second, please. Sales compensation has the advantage of having something called a direct line of sight. And when you're dealing with even bonuses, but sales comp in particular, line of sight refers to basically somebody being rewarded for their efforts, and they can directly attribute what they've done in order to win a commission or win a bonus. So it's very close, but it's very close to being able to affect their pay. So in the background, my pay is directly linked to my efforts, and you need to be able to pay them for those items that they can correctly control. Some of the things we're going to go over is, again, total target cash compensation, incentive mix, what is leverage, and range of earnings. The big difference in sales comp is that there is more pay at risk in the form of a commission and or a bonus. Important to note that a sales rep will tolerate more variability in their pay if they see an upside reward for their direct efforts. There are different types of sales jobs, and that's something you need to determine before you design your plan, because each sales role is compensated differently. You may have something they call the hunter-farmer situation, where the hunter goes out, finds new business and brings it back, and the farmer kind of just nurtures it and does cross-selling to make sure they may retain the customer. But you have two different sales roles. Each one gets paid differently for what they call in terms of closing the sales. So for that, you're going to need market data. You're also going to be able to track what they call your cost of sales. And you also need to be concerned about internal equity, external equity, both inside and outside the organization. There's some of the types of sales compensation you're probably familiar with. There's something called straight commission, combination of base salary and incentive pay. Or there's also straight salary. You have commission only plans. Um, those those are kind of, they have no base salary, and usually they're used in sales of what they call commodities, life insurance, real estate, etc. Basically, there's no, what that means is there's no brand differentiation. If you buy an insurance policy on MetLife or TIA or any of the, a life policy is a life policy. So basically, here you kill what you eat, what you kill. But here the salesperson has tremendous impact on the sale, and not so much the company. Most common arrangement that you see with sales comp is a base salary and a variable incentive plan. So factors, he used those when factors other than the salesperson are influencing the sale. In other words, they are looking for a particular product brand, reputation of the organization, current repeat customer, etc. So here, the salesperson has a little less influence on the decision for the sale. So they're not, but they also have a huge part in cultivating leads and getting them in the door. So they'll get a combination like a base pay and some kind of commission on well as well. Now the other side, you also have something called a base salary plan. Now those are mostly used in long sales cycles. What I mean by a long sales cycle is, a sale, like once you initiate the sale process, it can take anywhere from a year to 2 to 3 years to complete. So here, maybe you would do a base salary, and then you probably do something called markers to, or like for example, signing of an LOA, start of the project, midterm of project, but certain marks along the way to completion of the project. But if you try to pay them straight commission on this on a project that takes 2 years to complete, you're not going to keep your salesperson around very long. So you got to worry about their cash flow as well. And I mentioned something when you have a salary and incentive mix. Um, you have a varying, you have a fixed base and a various amount of pay at risk. So the general rule of thumb is the more pay at risk, the greater the influence on the sale, the greater the influence the salesperson has on the sale, and the stronger the relationship between the salesperson and the customer. So here, customers' loyalty with the salesperson who has a strong relationship based on mutual trust. The trust is with the salesperson and the other product services is fungible, manual, mutually interchangeable. To make the sale, the sales professional is selling him or herself more than the product. The act of finding, defining, and measuring the point of persuasion is the focus of the effective sales compensation design. So that word point of persuasion is key. The point of persuasion is where the sales associate helps the customer make a buy decision where there is uncertainty. It is at that point is where the sales associate should be paid. So, and you pay at the point of persuasion. In other words, when that customer decides to go ahead and pay the order. But in general, a general rule, the thing to remember is you only pay for the point of persuasion one time. Because there's only one time that customer is going to decide to buy your product or service. That's the sales rep who gets the commission on the sale. Okay. There are some exceptions to that, which we'll go over. But remember, you want to pay at the point of persuasion, and you only want to pay that one time. I see a lot of plans where that point of the salesperson maybe had helped it along, but there was two or three other people involved, and they would share it, and there's some inequity there because the one person did all the work and got the person in the door. So some of the impact of sales incentive mix on sales behavior. Again, we're talking about sales incentive mix. You can see something called like what's called a 50-50 plan. That's 50% base and 50% variable. Or that's common among hunter type roles. You also have something I also see a lot of like 70-30 or 75-25. 70% base pay and 30% variable. That is very common. It's a very common mix with sales representatives. So, but let's see what happens to the impact of the incentive mix on sales behavior. Sales comp drives behavior. Different mixes drives different results. The more persuasion required, the greater the upside on the plan. Above 50-50 is now recommended. In other words, let's say you pay 30% salary and 70% variable, because that basically starts to behave like a commission only plan, and the organization tends to lose control of the salesperson. So 50-50 is probably the max mix you wanted to do on any kind of sales role. So it's just to give you some, here's this chart here, like 100 to 0. That is just straight salary. And we use straight salary on long sales cycles. Less than 90-10, minimal to none. 90% to 10% to 85-15. In other words, 90% space and 10% commission. It's a performance reminder. Now, when you get to 85-15 to 75-25, that becomes sales behavior. That becomes directional. They're starting to more focus on that variable portion. 75-25 to 50-50, that you can describe that as something called independent action, to where the organization still has some control over their rep, but they have the ability to make some decent money on the variable portion. And of course, you have straight commission. So when you're doing your design, as general, unless you have somebody who's a very strong hunter, you may do them at, let's say, about 50-50. But your casual sales rep, you're kind of looking at 75-25 or 70-30. And that'll give them some what they call directional. That'll give them some guidance as to really what the organization wants to pay in terms of incentive for their sales. Now, leverage, you hear that term, that is the amount of upside incentive opportunity for excellence. So if you remember, let's say you had a 50-50 plan, keep the numbers simple. So let's say you have 50% base and 50% variable, and the variable gets paid out at quota. So what they're saying is, I'll pay you. Let's say it's 50%. Let's say it's $50,000 base, $50,000 variable. So you will of course, get your base at 50,000, and then if you hit quota throughout the year, you'll get the other 50,000 in commissions or bonuses. But there's also something called 2x and 3x times plans. A 2x plan is basically the plan says basically if you hit it out of the park, let's say you exceed your remember the total cash comp is that quota. When you exceed your quota, you're up for more of an upside. So there, let's say it's a 2 times plan, and your variable's 50,000. If you exceed your quota, you can get up to another 50,000, or 2 times the incentive, three times eventually 3 times the incentive. Now, there's something there called accelerators and deaccelerators, which help you control some of the cost and the motion of that. But this is a way to look at your top performers. This is how they can make their money. Because if I'm looking at a 3X plan and I have a 50-50, so I can potentially, if I'm a really good salesperson, make 3 times the 50,000, or in other words, my variable would be 150 plus a 50 on top of that, or close to $200,000. So, but this is for people who exceed quota. These are your people who are at excellence, and this should only be about 90% of your sales force that gets up to a full 3 times sales commission basis. So here's a graphic of what I discussed earlier. Okay, here you have something called the unit rate or straight commission. And here you have a two times cap, 50-50 plan. So in other words, 50% base, 50% variable. That gets paid at total target cash or a quota. But you have the opportunity in this plan to make another 50, let's say 50% or $50,000. If this was 100, this is 50, this is 50. But it's capped. In other words, this is the top, this is the bit more, this is where the plan stops. There are uncapped plans. Here's a 3X uncapped plan, 50-50. Again, 50% base, 50% variable. But you have the opportunity to increase that and make about 3 times commission, if you hit what they consider what you design in as excellence. Now, if you have a lot of reps that are making that top dollar, that basically means your quotas need to be revised, because you basically it's getting too easy for the reps to make that kind of money. So remember, this is only for about 90, 10% of your sales force should reach that top number. So again, this is some more numbers on leverage. So here your base salaries. This is a 70-30 plan with three times leverage. Total target cash is 50,000 at quota. So here you have a base salary of 40. Your target incentive, or your TTCC, is at 20,000 for a total target cash of 60,000, but it's 3 times leverage. So here I can make 3 times my target incentive of 20,000 or 60,000 if I reach excellence. So my total potential, there's an additional $100,000. So there's some of the ways you can play with the design of your plans, but this is what your good salespeople look for. They want to know, okay, I need I'll take some base. What's my target incentive? But what can I make on this plan that I can really hit it out of the park? And they'll figure out a way to do that. I've done things like build like little calculators for them in Excel, like that, so they can see if I make X amount of sales, where would I be in terms of getting to the top numbers, etc. So they look at these, and if they believe in the plan, they believe they can do it, and the product's good, they'll go for it. They'll sell the business for you with very, very little effort. So some of the incentive payment types, you probably hear me use these terms: a commission, bonus, combination commission bonus, and something called straight commission and flat commission. So here, what a commission basically, people get these two words confused. A commission is basically a piece of something. In other words, you're selling cars and you get 10% of the sales price of all the cars you sell. That's a commission, because you're getting a piece of that price. A bonus basically means if you do this, you'll get this. So in other words, my sales manager comes to me and says, "Okay, Cliff, if you sell 10 cars this month, I'll give you an extra $1,000. So if I do this, sell 10 cars, I get another $1,000. That's a bonus. And sometimes you may have some combination of the bonus and two-year commission plan. Commission works well if you're dealing with prices of commodities and things of that nature. Bonus if you can't really quantify it, but you want to say, let's say you want to have a bonus if you get a good review on customer service from your customers, something that's not quantifiable. That's when the bonus comes in. And there's two terms here. So you may have heard straight commission and flat commission. Straight commission basically means that all you're going to get paid is commission. There's no bonus payments. There's nothing else but just a straight commission. A flat commission basically is you get 10% of all sales, no matter how many you sell. So it's a flat 10% commission. The position is going to pay you straight commission at a flat 10%. Yeah. Again, general rule when you're designing your plans, number one is no more than 3 measures. Because what'll happen is the purpose of a sales plan is to focus the behaviors that you want, make sure that you're moving the products that you want to move, products or services. What tends to happen is, people get involved, and well, I want to incent this, I wanted to do this, I wanted to do that. Then the next thing you know, you have 8 measures. Then you get what I like to call a vending machine type sales plan, where the sales rep they pay attention to one aspect but forget the other portions of it. So you want to keep them focused. No more than 3 measures. You could have a profitability, a gross margin, volume measures are very popular. It needs to also have, remember we talked about good line of sight. Good line of sight is if I make an effort and do this, I will get this type of reward for my effort. So it's directly attributable to what I do as a salesperson. Okay. Performance measures have to be for those sales rep that has a direct influence on what they're being paid on. So if you want to incent them on price realization, they need to have control over pricing. Same thing with margin or profit. They need to have some kind of control or influence over it. If they don't, you should not incentivize them for something they cannot control. If you can, use quantifiable and objective measures. And it's very popular to use output measures versus input measures. But your operations people will tell you kind of what products that they want you to concentrate on. And there's another saying that they say around sales compensation is that sales compensation is really the caboose, it is not the engine. And what that means is that you don't think the money and sales comp is going to drive behavior, it's going to drive the results of your organization. That comes with good management. But you cannot replace good management with a sales plan to manipulate the sale. In other words, you're trying to do the carrot and stick approach, and that doesn't motivate as well as a good management move, because you need that important. But as a caboose, it'll support and help keep the train going. So just remember that. Don't try to make the sales plan the driver and manager of your sales rep. You still need management on your sales rep, but the sales plan should support those efforts. So other factors of sales compensation design, the business strategy, of course, the types of sales jobs, and also the types of channels you sell. You normally you move your product through, or you go to market through. So sales compensation design is an outcome of good business planning. The plan is not a substitute for management. That's why I gave you the caboose analogy. It does not drive the sales process, but it reinforces the process. This is a very important concept that you need to give to your sales leaders and your finance people. Strategy includes, again, the go-to-market plan and the design of sales roles to carry out the mission. And remember, we talked about go-to-market, how your organization gets their products and services, to the final customer. And remember, each distinct sales role gets their own plan. There's no one size fits all type of plan. So I'm starting to repeat myself, but I'm trying to drive this home. Each distinct sales role must have its own plan. Again, we talked about hunter-farmer roles, and they're very common. But if you're talking to your sales, your sales leaders and your finance leaders, they understand what that is. Again, a hunter type role is basically someone that goes out and gets a new business to bring them home. They should have more. They should have more variable pay than the customer service type people, but they should also have the ability for some more leverage and more upside. If they really hit it out of the park. Farmer roles, they're usually those that take existing business, maintain it, maybe do some you do cross selling or vertical integration, just be able to maintain and grow that business. They don't get as much variable as a hunter does, because the hunter role is where the point of this, the buy decision is made there, and it's all up to the sales rep. The farmer role has a little bit of that, but they're already customers, so you basically you have what they like to call a warm lead. So it's also called income producers. Those are your commission only life insurance and real estate type position. Direct sales job where you sell directly to the customer. Indirect sales job where you sell to maybe a distributor. For example, Walmart's like that. If you're Procter and Gamble, you have a sales position, you're selling to Walmart, which is an indirect path to your customer, because remember, you're a customer not only in Walmart but the product you're purchasing. So those are considered indirect sales type jobs. Overlay specialists are those that usually for technical type job, technical type sales. There's the hunter who finds the leads and cultivates the leads, but the overlay specialist will come in and assist them with all the technical aspects of the purchase, either whatever the machine is, the software or service. But they assist the sales rep in making the job, and they usually get part of that commission too, because they help drive the decision. Then we talk about business development, customer service. Customer service type roles are very common. They handle transactional type of arrangements, but they have an opportunity to sell you something. Usually those pitches are like 95% salary and 5% variable. Banks, for example, they'll you have a relationship with the bank, and they try to maybe move your money out of the savings account to a money market account, or maybe get a new credit card or things of that nature. So there's a little bit of incentive in there, but not as much as getting a new business. So, all right, you have your sales force working. Who do you get paid? With multiple roles involved in the sale, who gets paid? Crediting is defined as a salesperson who is the account owner and closes the sale. So there are two main standards. Again, you want to pay only at the point of persuasion. You only want to pay once for the sale. Split the commission if multiple people have influenced the prospect's decision to buy. Example, a 50-50 split with the territory sales rep who developed the lead and the overlay specialist who is the product expert. Both have an equal role in influencing his decision to buy. That's where you split it 50-50. So in other words, the territory sales rep found the lead. The overlay specialist assisted the sales rep to close the lead with his technical expertise. and that's why you split 50-50. But in general, you know, we split the commission if they both have, again, influence the sale at the point of persuasion, and you only pay for the point of persuasion only one time. Some sales channels in their go-to-market strategies, again, which products and services to sell, and to whom. You can sell, for example, direct company websites, factory outlet stores, door-to-door, indirect B&B, retail stores, channel partners, value-added resale sellers of some of them. But those are the various ways to reach the final customer, both indirectly and directly. And each one should be compensated differently. So you've influenced your finance person and your sales leadership to say you just took a webinar on a Friday morning and you're all geared up to try to give them some hints as to how to improve uh, their sales compensation plan. So what some of the things that you should do is number one, get your group together. Just say you're going to provide information and guidance and some tips as to how you can design your plan. But first of all, have a charter. In other words, why you're going to build a sales comp team, so you're going to have some kind of guidance document. Always include these key players. Again, sales leadership, finance. I assume you're all in HR. Also, outside experts and consultants. So, what I find with using consultants, because I've been in the Fortune 500 company for a number of years, and now I'm doing consulting work. The secret with consultants is, and this is ring true every time. You could be a compensation manager or a human resources manager, and you're trying to tell leadership, this is the way you should do stuff, and they sort of half listen to you, but then they said, okay. So you hire a consultant, he or she comes in, then we do the razzle dazzle, and basically they adopt the same thing that you've been trying to tell them all along. So it's just funny how people react that way. But sometimes, and I've done this, I've hired consultants. They should come in and tell them what I've been telling them for a number of years. They'll listen to the consultant, but they won't listen to me. But that's okay. Don't take it personally. Just say, okay, but you got done what you needed to get done. They got the message, and so you just go on. But and for the rest of the design team, you sort of give a heads up to like the folks in marketing. You're going to need some compensation analysts to help you, and also make sure your legal department is involved as well. So how are you going to be competitive? So here, utilize salary surveys to determine your current market rate for your position. Some of the good ones are Towers Watson, Mercer, Culpeper. Decide on your market position. Are you going to pay at the 50th percentile, the median, or you're going to pay at the 25th or 75th? Now, you also need to look at total target cash comp. So make sure your survey provides that type of information. And because you also want to make sure that it's skewing you also not just the 75th, but the 90th percentile. The 90th percentile is where, again, your top performers you're going to want to pay at the 90th. And there's no set rule for what kind of a base you can pay or how much you should. It's really up to the organization. Just sort of watch your pay mix and make sure but you don't want to overpay. The plan should differentiate again between low and high performers. That's where they should be reaching the 90th percentile of pay in terms of your survey data. You also want to, and this is important, model the plan to avoid overpaying for average performance. You want to model the plan quarterly to be sure the plan is working. Make adjustments to quotas or goals and payout amounts. I can't tell you how many times I stepped into a client and they showed me what they were doing. And I could see why they wanted a consultant. But they never they just decided they're just going to pay a base, pay a percentage, and they wonder why they're overpaying their sales force. And some of them, I walked into one, it's like, I just want a job with you. Because I don't have to work as hard as I do. But and there was one case where they offered an individual two scenarios, either a base plus a small commission or just straight commission. And of course, being risk averse, he took the base and small commission. But if he had, but I worked it out on the calculator. If he had taken the one with straight commission and he didn't, he left. He basically left by not doing the straight commission. He basically left $200,000 on the table. That's how much he would have been paid more than the thing he shows, only because he didn't take a simple calculator and model it out. So always model your plan, make sure you're avoid overpaying and making sure you're paying only for average performance. So again, good design drives desired behaviors, and that's the goal of a sales comp. So here, rule of thumb, base your pay mix aggressiveness on the following: the most aggressive for those jobs with more influence on purchasing decision or hunter type roles, mid aggressive, territory sales reps, business development reps, farmer type roles. Then you have your least aggressive, reps with longer sales cycles, those with strategic or consultative roles, uh, customer service reps, and sales manager have a wider set of responsibilities and should always work on a less aggressive pay mix than their direct reports. In other words, they should get paid something, but they're, again, you only want to pay when at the point of persuasion, and you only want to pay what? You only want to pay that one time. So to evaluate the current plan or the proposed plan, you want to look at some analysis, what the plan costs or what they call compensation cost of sales. You want to do a pay for performance check. In other words, are those top performers being paid more than your mid-level performers? You want to do something called a sensitivity analysis of plan features. And if you're doing a new plan, you want to do something what's called a who gets helped and who gets hurt analysis. Let's say you say, okay, I'm going to do a new plan for next for 2025. And so you planned it all out. So if you want to know how it's going to work, well, so what you can do is say, okay, so I have this design for 2025, but I'm going to take data from 2022. I have a full sales cycle there for then one calendar year in 2023. I have sales data, so I'm going to apply what they made on that on the old plan, and then I'm going to also see how it applies on the new plan. And so that way you have a comparison of how your new plan is going to work. Is if people are going to make more money under your new plan, or some of your people that did well are going to do as well on the new plan. So it really helps to see just where the pain is going to be when you make a switch for the 2025 plan. So there's also something called Monte Carlo analysis. These are where you get your really highbrow analysts involved, but basically that uses randomization type analysis to where you can kind of see under different scenarios what will happen and what your cost impact would be. So that's a very sophisticated analysis. Not too hard to learn, but there's plenty of books on Excel and sort of what if analysis and things of that nature you can pick up. But you hope your organization has at least a couple of analysts that can do that for you.
Cliff,
So
there is a
very,
Amen.
but you must model it before you put it out there. Yes.
Yeah, so I just wanted to, because I know you're focused on your thing. So I just wanted to say there's a question that came in from Sharon, and she asked, what benchmark market data is available by industry for the compensation cost of sales?
Oh, very good question. There isn't any. There, uh, there, there's really no benchmark data to use, and usually this is used internally to track their costs year over year. But but I've never seen no one. That question has come up a lot, but that's usually where in other words, are you running 15% this year, but then it goes up to 25% the following year? It's just a way to keep track of your cost internally. But there's no very good question, but there's no benchmark data available that would get you that answer. I wish there was, but there might be one I don't know about, but it'd be very rare.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
I always get questions like, well, should we give increases on the sales plan, on the base? And usually what I say, like an annual merit increases, things like that. And I'm hard and bitter. So what I tell them to do is, look, they're a salesperson. If they want more money, go sell more. They've got their future in their hands. If they're, and I also get the question a lot about geographic differentials. In other words, should they pay a salesperson more if they live in New York City versus Pine Bluffs, Iowa? And I said, well, it depends on what territory they have, what product they're selling. But then again, geographic differentials shouldn't really play too much into it because you're not focused on the base. You're focused on maximizing your incentive and getting to that top dollar. So again, I always tell them that the base is the base. If you want more money, go sell more. So Fair Labor Standards Act, their exemption status. Outside sales reps are usually covered under the outside sales representative exemption for overtime requirements. Outside means which means that they're out there at least on a regular basis visiting customers and doing that kind of thing. Inside sales reps, with only two narrow exceptions, are automatically classified non-exempt and must be paid overtime. Earned commissions and non-discretionary bonuses must be included in the regular rate calculation to pay overtime. But that's for your inside people. Okay, so if you're paying a commission or what they call a non-discretionary bonus to those salespeople, those inside salespeople, and they're running overtime, that must be included in the regular rate. And if you need to know how to calculate that, get with me separately. I can walk you through it. Now, some states have strict laws regarding payment of earned, that's a key word there, commission to terminated sales reps. In other words, if it's considered earned, it must be paid. California is probably one of the strictest one that I know of. But my point on that is, I know that sometimes managers get mad at a sales rep and they just want to fire them on the spot and they don't want to pay them any commissions, blah blah blah. But your plan document needs to say and actually identify when that commission is actually earned. And if it's earned, then it must be paid regardless of the employment status of the rep that you pick. And to me, it's always easy. It's cheaper to pay them out than to get involved in litigation and with the state agency. So some of the states have what they call what's must be present to win type laws. There are 7 of them. California, New York, Oklahoma, Illinois are some of them. But basically, if you terminate a salesperson and they have earned commissions that have not been paid out, they must be paid. Also, California and New York, if you have sales reps operating in those 2 states, requiring that the sales representative and manager sign their current sales compensation plan, stating they have received a copy as of whatever date. But that needs to be in file and must be done every year. And I don't want to mess with the state of New York and the state or California. So again, for communication, use transparency, set a schedule. This is something you do as an HR leader. Communication schedule, make sure you get something from the executive leadership, sales leadership, plan launch material. You can help us with field management training, Salesforce communication, plan documentation. I wrote a lot of plan docs in my day, so I'm pretty good at that. Payout reporting and also payment calculation. Remember I said we have a new plan coming into next year. Just build a little calculator on Excel for them and give it out, and that way they can, if they make X amount of sales, they can sort of predict what they're going to be paid for. It's really a good motivator that helps sell your plan. And they're easy to put together. So again, you probably won't be involved in setting quotas, but you'll be involved in designing your plan around the quotas. That you might have national goals. Those goals may come from top down or a little bottom up. They may just use last year's goals plus a percentage. You need to understand the territory. If you have territories, a lot of the internet sales are sort of fuzzy territories that just suffer some very manufactured type of products. There may not be any more territories when your organization. Evaluate the market potential, segment potential markets, because you would develop formulas based on historical sales, projected national growth rate, test potential outcomes. And this is where Monte Carlo techniques really come in. Then you review it and finalize it and publish it. Then you may have to sometimes go and halfway through and make adjustments to your quotas. So again, when you create your sales comp plan, take into consideration the type of sales role, what are they expected to do, who are their customers, determine the total target compensation cash for external market competitive. You look at the pay mix, how much influence does the sales role have in the decision to buy. Instead of measures, no more than 1, 2, 3. Measure weighting reflects the time spent on each measure. Make sure they're weighted. Payout rates determine a goal or quota for each measure. Fine tune with accelerators and deaccelerators. Testing, calculate the plan over a full range of outcome. Communication, make sure you document the plan, make sure all your sales rep has a copy. And I'm open for questions.
Perfect. If you have any questions, we're going to give you guys just a minute. You can put those in the chat or in the Q&A. Thank you so much for this, Cliff. I'm telling you, every time we do a webinar, I just learn more and more.
You always catch things you missed the first time.
Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, as soon as I, think I can't learn anymore, I learn something new every day. So,
there's so much more to learn.
Yes, every single day. A lifelong learner. That's what I like to be. Lakeisha, this recording will be shared. So not only will you get a copy of it via your email early next week, but you will also be able to go to our YouTube channel and you'll be able to view it there next week. So this recording will definitely be shared so that you can go back and review. And as you can see on the screen, Cliff's information is there, as well as our business development person, John Wing. So if you have any questions that you think of after this, you can always reach out to them and, see what's going on.
Will the slides be available too, Kayla?
Yes, the slides will also be available. They typically send out the PowerPoint and the recording, but the PowerPoint only goes out to whoever has registered. That's not available online. Awesome. Well, we're going to go ahead and wrap this up. That was absolutely amazing. Thank you so much, Cliff, for a wonderful presentation yet again. And I hope everyone enjoys the rest of their Friday.
Yes, enjoy your weekend.